Hello, and it's Wednesday, it's 8 p.m. here in Spain, and it's time for another English live stream. Hello and welcome. My name's Craig. I'm from mansioningles.com, which is a website where you can learn English for free. And I'll just put the link up here on the website address in case it's your first time watching, mansioningles.com. And also we have a podcast. If you'd like to listen to English and improve it every Sunday, go to inglespodcast.com to listen to our podcast, or wherever you listen to podcasts, you'll find us there as well. And with me this week, I'm delighted to say hello again to one of my favorite teachers, Lynne from putitlikethis.com. Hi, Lynne.
Hi, Craig. How are you?
Very well, thank you.
Have I ever taught you anything? You can't call me a favorite teacher if I've never been your teacher.
You are one of my favorite teachers. You are.
Hi, everybody. Well, nice to be here again. So my name's Lynne, and putitlikethis.com is my website. And I'm an online teacher, and I do personalized, tailor-made courses for people to improve their English. So if anybody's interested, you can go to putitlikethis.com and see what I offer. And we've got Hema with us now.
Hello,
Hi, Hema. Nice to see you again. You're very punctual.
Yes, on the dot, we say. On the dot at 8 o'clock.
Yeah, she is.
Spanish time, of course. And if you're watching the replay, thank you for spending time with us today. We hope we've got some lovely expressions to help you improve your English, because today we're talking about old wives' tales. Now, a tale, T-A-L-E, it's not the same word as the tail on a dog or a cat. It's a different spelling. That's T-A-I-L. This kind of tale is like a story. According to my dictionary, it is a fictitious or true narrative or story. That's a tale. And an old wives' tale is something that we maybe have grown up hearing, that was passed down from our parents or grandparents, and they tell us things that would be good for us. And today we're going to examine them and see if they're actually true, an effective remedy to help us or cure something, or maybe they're an old wives' tale which is not something that should be believed or followed.
Mm-hmm. Often with old wives' tales, they've been proven to be wrong later. So the idea is that you've got to be a little bit careful with old wives' tales, because sometimes they've been proven to be wrong. And also, I think it's a bit of a sexist label, because I think
isn't it?
It is. It should be
and
old
ageist.
husbands' tales as well, and ageist as well. It's ageist and sexist. But anyway, we all know what they are, old wives' tales.
But maybe it's old not because the wives are old, maybe because the tales or the remedies are old, perhaps, that they've been passed down through time. So perhaps. But before we begin and tell you a few of our old wives' tales that we've collected, there's something that we should declare and say before we start, isn't there, Lynne? A warning.
There is. We have to give a caveat. Now, I don't know if you know the word caveat. Caveat is the same word as a kind of meaning. And a caveat is kind of like a little warning before we start. And our caveat is everything that you hear here on the podcast tonight. We are not taking any responsibility for whether it works or whether it's dangerous. I don't know. You must use your own sense of logic,
common sense.
Common sense about.
Don't take our word for any of these things. Don't try these at home, ladies and gentlemen.
Well,
don't try this at home.
Some of them I do recommend to my friends, so I would recommend them, but I cannot guarantee they will work. Yeah, okay. And if there are any side effects, we take no responsibility, do we, Craig?
No, none whatsoever. No. We're not doctors. We're not doctors, and we're not going to cure you of anything. Just say a quick hello to Heidi, who's joining us from Buenos Aires.
Hi, Heidi. Hi.
And Zarina is with us as well. Thank you for joining us live.
Great. And did you have the banner with hearsay, the word hearsay? Yeah, okay. Because I thought this might be a couple of new words for people. Hearsay, the second word in that banner, that's information that you have heard from somewhere, but you're not sure whether it's true or not. So many old wives' tales are hearsay. We're not really completely sure whether they're true or not. And there's another word which looks exactly the same. It's just a tiny little bit different in the spelling. And the first word is heresy. So there's a difference in pronunciation as well. Heresy and hearsay. And what's heresy, Craig? Do you want to define it, or do you want me to define it?
Oh, I have got a definition here because I did check it. It's information that you have heard. No, it's not. No, it's not. That's hearsay. Heresy, the act of having an opinion or a belief that is the opposite or against the official or popular opinion. Or an action that shows you have no respect for the official opinion. So if you don't respect something, if you don't like it, it's against popular opinion, that's heresy.
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 So, heresy. So, for example, we should give an example. If you were to say, well, most people here in Europe, we don't have the death penalty, right? We don't have the death penalty. The official wisdom and the official opinion of the countries is no death penalty. And if you say something like something very, very aggressive, and you say they should all be killed, all those murderers should be killed immediately, then that is heresy because it's against the popular opinion. All right. Yeah. So.
Okay. So while we just want to say hi to an old friend of mine who's joining us in the chat, Gina. It's been ages since I've seen you, I heard from you. So thanks for watching. And I hope this is going to be useful for your English, Gina, who is in fact from London. But anyway.
Oh, she's from London. Well,
anyway,
then we have to say as well, today, in today's Facebook Live, we really want to hear old wives' tales from you guys. Yeah. So you can either, if we inspire you when we tell you some of ours, if you remember some old wives' tales that you know, you can share them with us in the chat file. Or you can see the banner at the bottom of the screen. You can, if you're very brave, you can join us live, and you can come in with audio or with audio and video, can't they, Craig?
Absolutely, yeah. However you'd like to join us, it would be great if you could come in and tell us your old wives' tale. And as we're telling you ours, you'll get the idea of the kind of old wives' tales we're looking for. And Gina, if you have one, we'd love to invite you in and tell us your old wives' tale as well, so that the students can hear a different accent.
Yeah, great.
Okay, let's get going. So I think you're first, and yours, you told me this a few weeks ago, and it really made me laugh because I'd never heard of this before. And it's onions on your ears. Now, why on earth, Lynn, would you put onions on your ears? What does that help you with?
Why on earth? I like that expression. Why on earth would you do that? That's like a very surprised expression. Why would you do that? Well, Craig told me that I think you had a bad flu. It was when you were feeling ill a few weeks ago.
It wasn't COVID. It wasn't COVID. It was just the flu.
No. And you were feeling bad, and you were feeling congested, which you had a lot of like mucus, and your nose was blocked, and your throat was sore, and your ears were hurting you. And your ear, you were beginning to get earache. And I have this little old wives' tale, which I used for my children when they were little, because children often get earache, and earache can be really painful. And of course, you have to go to the doctors to get the doctor to look at the ear to see if there's an infection. But my kids, they always used to get the earache like at 10 o'clock at night. And you knew, oh my God, we're not going to sleep, right? And then in Germany, somebody told me this little remedy. So you get an onion and you chop it in fine slices. You must chop the onion, right? And then you wrap the onion in a cloth, 2 cloths, because you've got 2 ears. So 2 cloths. And then you put the cloth over your ear. So a little bit like this, but you put the cloth over your ear, one here, one there. And then I used to get a scarf and I used to tie it up on my children's heads. So the poor things were sitting there with an onion here, half an onion here, half an onion there.
You didn't
in a
send them
cloth.
to school like that, did you?
No, this was for the night. And then I used to make them lie down. And the next day, the earache, it stops the pain of the earache.
Does it work?
And it did work all the time. I mean, I always took, if it continued, if they had earache the next day, I took them to the doctors to look. But it worked. And okay, I don't know. They say scientifically it's not proven. But there are opinions, and some people said that onion is anti-inflammatory, and so earache often starts when you've got like some infection in your ear, or some dirt, or some water, and I don't know what it does. Draw out the infection. I have read that is scientifically not possible. I don't know. I'm not a scientist, but it worked.
Okay.
Did you do it? Did you do it?
Did I do it?
When I asked you, when I said to you, put onions on your ears.
I didn't. No, I didn't. And I'm thinking maybe because when you chop onions make you cry.
Yeah.
Maybe you're distracted from your earache because you're crying, and that's why you feel better about your ears.
But the thing is, when you cry, it causes a physical reaction to produce tears to protect your eyes. So I don't know whether it does something else, like it triggers your system to reject like something that's invasive. And as well as putting onions on the ears, when my children were very congested, sometimes I just chopped up an onion and left it on a plate next to their beds. The next day, the house absolutely stank. I mean, the smell was disgusting because the onion overnight just really smells everything out. But it cleared their airways and they could sleep.
And notice the way Lynne used that word congested, which means blocked. You can have congestion with traffic if the streets are blocked. Don't make the mistake, if you're a Spanish speaker, of saying constipated, because that means you're blocked at the other end of your body, not your head. So use the word congested. Constipated is a false friend. Constipado in Spanish. You should say congested. Next one.
I know Hema has heard about the onion. Oh, thank goodness I'm not crazy, right? Hema says she's heard about the onion, but you have to put it on your bedside table while you sleep. Yes, that's what somebody had said.
There you go. So it's
but it
more
stinks.
popular than I thought.
But it could be a new fashion accessory with the scarf and the onion on your ears.
Good way to get an empty seat on the bus, I think. So this is from my grandmother on my mother's side. Whenever I fell over as a kid when I was young and I bumped my arm, I had a bruise, and a bruise is where your skin changes color and goes purple or brown, and maybe there's a bump, a lump in your skin. If you fall over playing football, I used to do that a lot, and I had bumps on my legs. She took a penny, an old penny, an English penny, and she rubbed the penny on the bump, which really, really hurt. And she insisted that it will reduce the swelling and you'll feel better. Now, my theory behind this old wives' tale is, in the old pennies, they used to have some copper. And I think copper reduces swelling, because I know that some people believe copper bracelets are good for arthritis, the swelling of the joints.
Yeah. And so they put they always wear something copper around them.
My dad did, and he said that it helped his arthritis. So maybe that's the reason why my grandmother insisted that rubbing a penny would reduce the swelling of the bump or the bruise. But it really, really hurt, and I hated it when she did it. Have you heard of this one, Lynne?
Nobody's ever rubbed a penny on me, not a penny. But I mean, it makes sense with the copper. It makes sense. And then, of course,
Gina's heard it.
Gina's heard it. Oh, well, there you are.
Thank you, Gina, for backing me up.
The other thing, though, I know when I was little, my dad used to, whenever I got a bump or a bruise, my dad would call me over and he used to cure my bumps and bruises with fairy dust.
Fairy dust.
My father always had fairy dust in his pocket, and he used to say, close your eyes and I'm going to put some fairy dust on it, and it's gone now. And it always worked.
Well, there you go. Fairy dust or pennies. Who would have thought? To remind you, if you have a similar tale or story that you believe in that you'd like to share, there's a link at the bottom of the screen. Come and join us live by audio or video or both. And I'll also put the same link in the chat on YouTube and Facebook so that you can come in and tell us your old wives' tale and practice your English. Back to you, Lynn. This is another funny one that I'd never heard of before.
But this one really works. This one really works. And I read this one in a magazine and I couldn't believe it. And then I thought, I have to try this one. And it does work. So again, it's when you are congested. So you're very congested with cold and you can't breathe and you want to sleep. And of course, when you go to sleep and you're congested, if your nose is blocked, you end up breathing through your mouth, and then you wake up and all your mouth's dry, and you don't have a good night's sleep because you can't breathe, right? So what you have to do is you get a tennis ball. Well, usually in the middle of the night you haven't got a tennis ball handy. So what I got was, I just got out of my drawer, I got several pairs of socks and made them into like a ball shape. It has to be something that is kind of quite solid, quite dense. So I just pushed loads of socks into a sock. Then this is your armpit, this area under your arm. This is your armpit. So you have to put the tennis ball or the socks or whatever hard object you've got there under your armpit like that. And then you have to sleep on the
side.
You have to lie on the side where you've got the tennis ball. Okay, so you lie on your side. Now this tennis ball or ball of socks, it starts pressing into your shoulder because your shoulder's in the bed. And amazingly, if you've got the tennis ball in this side, right? So you've got it in this arm.
The same side of the nostril that's blocked.
No, the other nostril.
The opposite side.
The other nostril opens. It's absolutely incredible.
Wow.
So you can get a night's sleep because one of your nostrils decongests, right? And if you get tired of lying on that side, you just take it out, put it on the other side, turn on the other side, and after a few breathings, your other nostril releases and becomes open. And I think that's astonishing.
That's amazing. That's
but you have to try it. But you can only try it when you're congested, obviously, because you can't go to bed tonight and do it because it won't.
So you could have the tennis ball under the arm and the onions on the head at the same time.
And then I'll be super sexy.
Yeah. But able to breathe. So
yeah, but that really works.
That was my reaction, Gemma. Really? Really?
Yeah.
Honestly?
Yeah, it works. It works.
Okay. Now you've probably heard of this. Notice the two different spellings of hiccups. There's a hiccups. I think in Spanish it's hippo if you're a Spanish speaker. But yeah, you've probably heard where you fill up a glass of water and then you're supposed to drink the water from the other side of the glass, and concentrating on that and drinking the water is supposed to cure hiccups. Now, it has never worked for me, but I've heard it so many times that I'm wondering. It works for you.
That always works for me. It's the surest way to stop the hiccups. Mm-hmm.
Okay. There are and sometimes if you frighten somebody and you go boo and you scare them, that also is supposed to work.
And sometimes my mother used to tell us to hold our breath for 10 seconds, but that never worked for me. But the drinking the water out of the other side of the cup, that definitely works. Mm-hmm.
Okay. And Jose Antonio says he's going to try it. I think that's the tennis ball. or the socks under the armpits.
It's
So
got-
tell us what you think
Yeah.
next week. If I hope you don't get congested during the week, but if you do, Jose Antonio, let us know if it works for you.
If it works. So the moral of the story is always to have a tennis ball in your bedside table, just
Yep.
in case.
Exactly. You never know. Back to you. What is a
Now,
sty? I think sty might be a new word for some people
yeah.
watching.
So a sty is that sometimes you get an infection underneath your eye here, on this part of your eye, just under your eyelashes at the bottom, and it gets infected and it turns red, and you have this horrible red like bump underneath your eye. Is that a good way to describe it? I have no idea how to say that in Spanish, but it's kind of like
Orzuelo, apparently.
Orzuelo. Okay.
Orzuelo, there you
So
go.
it's not very nice. And usually a lot of children get those. I don't know why. I think it comes from if you just have an infection, you know, so kids like rub their eyes, or maybe you've caught something. And the infection is not in your eye, but it's under your eye. And usually these last for about 3 or 4 days before they go away, and they're very ugly. And you don't really like it. And sometimes it bothers you because your eye is a little bit swollen. And the remedy that I've always used, and it does work, but then I'm an old wife. I think it works. My kids always do it as well. Is that I was told that you have to have a gold ring. So you usually get a wedding ring, because wedding rings are usually gold. Mine is white gold, but it's gold. It has to be gold. So you need a gold ring. You take the ring off. You rub the ring 3 times. Why it's only 3, I don't know. But do it 3.
Say you turn around 3 times.
Yeah, no. But you also rub this 3 times.
Okay.
3 times. And then you turn around anti-clockwise 3 times. And then you put your ring back on, and honky dory, there you are. Everything's okay. The next day your sty has disappeared, and it always works.
Well, there you go. I'm not sure about turning around 3 times. That sounds a bit Harry Potterish to me.
I know. But the thing is, it's funny about the metals, isn't it? Because you said with the penny, you thought it was copper. And with the gold, well, Eduardo says that's pure science, you see.
Yeah. I don't know. It's the turning around 3 times that's the pure science, not the gold, the precious metal.
I reckon it could be the gravity operating, you know, when you're turning around, the centrifugal effect, maybe, on the gold and on the sty, and then it, you know, who knows?
Remember, we're waiting for you to come and join us live. If you want to jump in and tell us your old wives' tale, if you can think of one that's similar to ours, we'd love to hear it. My next one is something that you may have heard of. It's eating carrots, and it will make you see better, especially at night. Now, I did a little bit of checking on this, and apparently this old wives' tale really started to become popular in the Second World War, or after the Second World War, because there wasn't a lot of sugar about. Sugar was rationed. If something's rationed, then there's a very short supply. There's not a lot around. There wasn't a lot of sugar during the war and after the Second World War. So the British Ministry of Food, the government ministry in charge
now you're
of
onto
food,
Harry Potter, because you know the Ministry of
the Ministry of Magic, the Ministry of Food, they promoted vegetables in place of sweets, especially for children. That eat vegetables because there's not any sugar. The factories are making bombs. They're not making sweets. There isn't sugar. Why don't you eat vegetables? So they promoted vegetables in place of sweets. And there was an advertisement called Dr. Carrot that was advertising carrots to the general public. And another point that I found interesting when the British planes shot down German planes during the war, they used automatic targeting, especially at night. And they did not want the Germans to know that they had this automatic targeting system in the aeroplanes. So the propaganda was to promote the idea that the carrots were helping the pilots to see better at night and shoot down the planes.
That's
And
amazing.
that's,
Uh-huh.
yeah, I had no idea. But since the 1930s, 1940s, this idea of eating carrots makes you see better has been a common old wives' tale, but scientifically, it hasn't been proven. Although obviously carrots are good for you, there's no scientific evidence to show that they help you see better.
Well, I have heard, here's a bit of hearsay, right?
Hearsay.
But I have heard that carrots are good for your eyesight. And years ago, I went to ocular yoga. Have you ever heard of that?
Ocular yoga.
Ocular yoga. That's
haven't.
yoga to improve your eyesight. And I went to a course of ocular yoga.
Wow.
And on this course, the course leader, he did recommend certain foods which were good for your eyes, and carrots was one of them. And I think it's to do with the what's that thing that they is it beta carotene, or what's the name of that? Beta carotene. It's a food ingredient, is a scientific word for it. Beta carotene. Or
Are there any nutritionists watching
are there any
live at the moment?
nutritionists watching? There's something in carrots.
Gina, do you know?
Because, for example, if you eat too many carrots, your skin starts to turn orange. Did you know that?
Yes.
And it's because of the beta carotene in it, right?
Yeah.
That it turns your skin orange. And
Changes the pigment.
It changes the pigment. And apparently, I don't know, but maybe the connection is that it changes, or it helps with the pigmentation in your eyes. And you need pigmentation in your eyes to see the difference between contrasts. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But this is all hearsay. Okay. I'm not, that's my caveat, right? I'm not putting any scientific proof out there, but I have heard that, that carrots are good for your eyesight because of that.
I've got a question about ocular yoga. Do you move your body in ocular yoga, or you just move your eyes?
Yes, you do. No,
you move your body.
You move your body. It's about, apparently, you have to imagine yourself. You exercise your eye muscles, because nowadays a lot of us we are in front of a screen all day.
Yeah, tell me about it.
And so the problem is that our eyes, before, when we used to work in physical jobs out in the fields, your eyes were focusing on different distances regularly. So your muscles in your eyes were very, very flexible. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then now, with the kind of sedentary work that we have, we end up fixing our muscles for long periods of time on the same focus. Yeah. So in ocular yoga, you do a lot of exercises to exercise distance.
Gemma's saying that carrots are good for the eyes because of the vitamin A.
Mate. I think I remember him saying that, actually. Vitamin A and that. Yeah. Okay. Thanks, Emma.
Okay. So moving from congestion in the nose and a blocked nose and and maybe a headache, moving to a sore throat.
This is me again.
It's you again.
I have all the remedies to keep crying children quiet at night. The onions on the ear,
give them a tennis ball to play with.
Exactly.
Yeah. Some socks.
So this one again, I can recommend this one. This one works. If you have a sore throat, then I usually get some warm water. So I usually boil the water and then I cool it down a little bit with colder water. Okay. Or you get boiled water and then you let it cool down. Then a teaspoon is the small spoon. We have two types of spoons. We have dessert spoon or soup spoon, and we have a teaspoon, which is the small one. A teaspoon of baking soda or bicarbonate of soda. Sometimes it's known as baking soda or bicarbonate of soda. And a teaspoon of lemon juice. Oh, you just squeeze a lemon in it. And then you mix it up. And then with that, you don't drink it. Don't drink it. You gargle with it. Can you put gargle in the chat file? Because
I
we
can
didn't
do
put
it for
on
you.
the,
Shall I do it?
Yeah. Oh my goodness, really?
There you go. A live demonstration of vocabulary.
I'm amazed that you managed to do that without choking. I would have started to laugh and then I would have choked.
The gargle, yeah. Salt
yeah,
water.
so to gargle, it's Gargle, gargle. And to gargle is do that. So you don't swallow it, but you play with the water at the back of your throat and then you spit it out. And that really relieves the pain of the sore throat.
In my family, we had a similar remedy for sore throats, but we drank it. It was lemon juice, squeezed lemon juice, honey, and brandy.
Oh, wow.
And knock that back, drink it, and that helps your throat. Or gargling with salt water.
Salt water. And I suppose like the lemon and the salt, it must all be disinfectant really. So it might sort of, kill off some of that bacteria.
And if you have enough brandy, you don't care about the sore throat.
I was going to say, if you've got brandy, you don't know you've got a sore throat anymore.
Just don't care. Yeah. Next, we have, this is a very well-known sentence in English. An apple a day keeps the doctor away. And it's easy to remember because you've got the two vowel sounds that rhyme. Rhyme is similar sound. So you've got day and away, that vowel sound A. An apple a day keeps the doctor away. Although just because those two words rhyme, it doesn't mean it's true. Because eating an apple every day does not guarantee that you won't get a nasty disease or you won't become sick. Like carrots, fruit like apples obviously very good for you, but it's no guarantee that you won't need to go to see the doctor. But
it's better than a Big Mac a day, isn't it? A Big Mac a day doesn't keep the doctor away.
Not at all. It does not.
An apple a day is slightly better.
Speaking of again, if you're coming in, if you want to come in and say hi and practice your English, you're more than welcome. The link is at the bottom of the screen there. And while Lynne's talking, I'll also put the link in the chat if you want to come and say hello and tell us your old wives' tale. So on the theme of food.
This is one from my mother. And I have to say, I have never in all of my life done it because the idea just really revolts me. But my mother always, if something unfortunate happened in the family, like some bad news, maybe a death of a friend or a relative, and you get a bit of a shock. So if you get some bad news, and when my mother used to get bad news, then to calm her nerves, she used to have a glass of sherry or brandy, but my mother used to say sherry, but sometimes brandy I've heard as well. And then they crack a raw egg in the sherry or the brandy and then drink it. Personally, the idea of drinking the raw egg in the sherry gives me more of a shock than the shock itself. So
maybe that's the idea.
I think it would cure me of the shock because it would be so disgusting to have to drink a raw egg and sherry for a shock.
I have never heard of that.
But my mom and her family, that was a common remedy for shock. I think many years ago, some people used to have smelling salts, didn't they? In the old movies, they used to have some salts, and when people got a shock, they would like there was a little jar, wasn't there? And they would take the top off and make you smell it.
Or break something open and
Or break
release
something,
the
and then you
smell.
would smell it, and it used to calm you down. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I think Gina might be right. Said, wasn't that for a hangover? I've heard of raw eggs
Really?
for a hangover.
Seriously?
Yeah. And obviously, if why have I? Oh, sorry, I've messed up.
You messed up. Gina, you had it. Wasn't that for a hangover? And
Yeah.
and now we've gone to cookies. Hang on.
Sorry.
It's all right. So Gina says, wasn't it for a hangover? It could well have been for a hangover. I don't know.
Yeah, raw eggs and the sherry or brandy would be a hair of the dog. The expression in English to have the hair of the dog would be the hair of the dog that bit you would mean that you'd have a little bit of alcohol, which is supposed to help you recover from the hangover. Raw eggs are obviously very good for you. And I've often heard that alcohol is good for a shock.
Well, I mean, I can imagine. I mean, not imagine. I've done it, right? So, so let's get real here. If I've had a very big shock, sometimes I do need
a stiff drink.
A stiff drink. So, like we say a stiff drink. That's a strange expression, isn't it? Stiff means
hard,
not flexible.
liquor.
That's stiff. And when we say a stiff drink, we mean one that isn't diluted. So you don't. It's like in many people have whiskey and lemonade. Well, a stiff drink is not whiskey and lemonade. A stiff drink is whiskey on its own. So
liquor, yeah.
I've never drank whiskey, but sometimes a brandy has that effect, or a grappa, or something that's like that makes you go because it burns you when it goes down. That can help with a shock. And years ago, unfortunately, I can't do it anymore because it doesn't agree with me. But years ago, if I had a shock, I used to grasp for a cigarette. But now I haven't smoked for years, and it doesn't agree with me now. When I smoke, it makes me feel ill. So that's no good if I grasped for a cigarette for a shock. But I used to when I was younger.
Funny story.
What about you? What do you do when you have a shock?
A funny story. When my sister and my brother-in-law first moved to Spain, this was before I came to Spain. They were living in a small area, a small town south of Valencia. They were coming home from a restaurant in the car, and they had a small accident. My brother-in-law came off the road and crashed the car into a tree. It wasn't a severe accident, but the police did come. And the La Guardia in Spain is the Spanish police. They took my brother-in-law and my sister to the nearest bar and bought them a drink. They didn't breathalyze them. They realized that they were in shock. And I thought that was the strangest thing. The police took them to a bar and bought them a drink to help them get over the shock. To get over something means to recover, from the shock.
It's a pity we haven't got any doctors or scientists in our audience.
I think we're lucky. We're lucky with all this rubbish we're telling people. I think we're lucky.
Well, we need some counter arguments for why we should get drunk when we have a shock.
I agree with Eduardo. He says a cookie a day might not be healthy, but keeps you happier. Absolutely. A small piece of chocolate or a nice biscuit or cookie is a wonderful cure for everything.
And what do you do when you get a shock, Craig? What do you do when you get a shock? Because everybody's had a shock at some times. Do you sit down? Do you have a cup of tea? Cup of tea with sugar. Sometimes I put sugar in my tea, which I never put in. But sometimes if I have got a shock, sometimes sugar in my tea helps. Maybe it makes life sweeter, like the cookie.
I don't have a remedy. I just kind of deal with it. I don't drink anymore, so I don't think
you don't
about
do anything when you have a shock. No,
just sit down. I just get shocked. I just let it.
You breathe.
Shock me.
Breathe.
Yeah, counting to 10 is good. Take a deep breath. Count to 10. If I'm nervous, if I'm giving a presentation, or I'm nervous for any reason, a job interview, then I breathe deeply to calm myself. That helps to just breathe. Because sometimes you breathe, you forget to breathe.
Hyperventilate. You can if you forget to breathe, can't you? Jose has a question, Craig, if you can put that up. He says, does stiff also mean ajuje?
Agujetas. I can't
Agujetas.
remember what.
I think agujetas is when you do sport, isn't it?
Cramps. Isn't it cramp?
Muscle ache, I would say. Muscle ache.
Let me check it here very quickly.
Agujetas is if you do.
Agujetas.
It's when you do a lot of exercise. Like, for example, if you start a new class of, I don't know, jump aerobic, and the next day you can't move because your muscles are all.
Yeah, agujetas is dolor muscular. Yeah, stiffness. Stiffness,
muscle
you can
ache,
say.
I say. Muscle ache or stiffness.
Aches and pains, the dictionary says as well. I'll put that in the chat.
Yeah.
Yeah, aches and pains after you exercise too much. Yeah, yeah, you can say that.
Stiff generally means that it's not flexible. So it does describe the muscles, because you can't, if you can't walk up and down the stairs because it hurts so much, then you're not flexible. So it is stiff too.
And I'm noticing that more and more every day.
But that's not to do with your aerobics class. That's just
it's not because I'm
age.
over exercising. Yeah, thank you, Lynn.
You're welcome. I'm ageist. This is Old Wives' Tales.
Moving on. Speaking of eyes, because I mentioned carrots, reading in dim light damages your eyes. Now let's look at the word dim as an adjective. If light is dim, it's the opposite of bright. You can also use the adjective dim to describe a person in quite an insulting way. A person can also be bright. If a person is bright, they're very clever, they're very quick, they're very intelligent. And the opposite, if they're a bit slow, then you can call a person dim, but it's not very nice. It's quite insulting. But in this context, it means that if there is not enough light when you're reading, you can damage your eyes. Absolutely not true. It's an old wives' tale that, according to my short internet research, and again, I'm not a doctor, there's no scientific proof that I could find to justify that you would damage your eyes if you don't have enough light. Now, it will make you feel tired. It will make your eyes feel very tired and very dry, but they won't get worse because you're reading in dim light. So don't worry.
Don't say that to my daughters, because I always say to them, turn the light on. Reading in dim light
You're ruining
your eyes. You're ruining your eyes.
Don't sit too close.
You haven't got enough light in here.
Yeah, old wives' tale, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Debunked.
Debunked. Okay.
Back to the booze, back to the drink. Guinness.
Yeah, no, this is not, but this is something in my family that the doctor told, I believe it was my grandmother, and it was that after you give birth, you should drink Guinness, and Guinness builds up puts on weight, and
there's iron.
gives you
There's iron
strength
in
and
Guinness.
energy in Guinness.
There is
Guinness
iron
is a
in
drink.
Guinness.
It's an Irish beer, isn't it? An Irish stout. I have no idea if that's true or not. I don't like Guinness. Do you like Guinness?
I used to drink Guinness. Yeah, I do like Guinness. It has iron in it. So if you drink it, obviously not to excess, but if you drink it sensibly, it is good for you. And apparently also a glass of red wine is good for you every day.
That's from oxidants. I think it's rich in antioxidants or something. Yeah, which is supposed to be good for you.
And I know that Guinness has iron in it. Yeah. And I think you can put a raw egg in Guinness as well. That's supposed to be good for you. Although
I think all these old wives' tales, there's a lot of alcohol involved, don't you think?
Yes. Yes.
Oh, Gina says they would give hospital patients Guinness. Really? Wow.
Okay. Interesting.
That is
almost worth going to hospital. Okay, how are we doing for time? Well, we've still got another 10 minutes, so let's move on to
now you can't tell me, this is for everybody who's watching, you cannot tell me that it's only me and Craig who've got these old wives' tales. You have to have an old wives' tales, don't you?
Come and tell us your old wives'
Come and
tales.
tell us, or write it for us, because you
must have one.
Yeah, it makes us sound as English people that we're very eccentric and quirky. If all the other people in the world are sensible.
Now, have you heard?
We can't be the only crazy ones out there, can we, Craig?
No. Have you heard of this one? Peeing on a jellyfish,
No.
Stung takes away the pain. Now, to pee is to urinate. It's quite a urinate is a formal word, but peeing is informal. And if you pee or urinate after you've been stung by a jellyfish, Gemma, what's jellyfish in Spanish? I can't remember. Then that will take away the horrible burning pain and sensation that you get when you've been stung by a jellyfish. Absolutely not true. Some people.
I think if I got stung by a jellyfish, possibly I would be so shocked that maybe I peed by accident. Maybe people pee by accident when they get stung by a jellyfish.
I think this old wives' tale maybe comes from the fact that I think there's some acid in urine. Is there? Again, I'm not a doctor, just thinking that maybe there's
well, it's probably
acidic.
Yeah.
So what you should do if you get stung by a jellyfish, obviously you've got the
they're called medusas.
Thank you, medusas. If you've got the tentacles of the jellyfish on your skin, you should remove those, but not with your fingers, because then you get stung on your fingers. Use gloves or tweezers to remove the tentacles, and then just wash the sting with salt water, or take a hot shower, not a cold shower, a hot shower. That's according to the research I did on the internet. And that happens in the summer in Spain. People do get stung by jellyfish, don't they?
I've never been stung by a jellyfish. Have you been stung by a jellyfish?
Years ago, yeah. Years ago.
Is it painful? I've never been stung by a jellyfish.
It's very, very painful.
They're a bit nasty. I don't like to see jellyfish. As soon as I see one, I get out of the water. Yeah.
Gina says, yeah, I've heard of that too. They do it. What they wee on you. They pee on you.
Where is Gina? In London?
No, I think she's.
When she says they do that here,
she's not in London. She's in Tel Aviv, because in Tel Aviv, in Israel, they have. They have medusas. They have jellyfish out there as well.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Okay. Where are we?
Poor jellyfish. Right. Okay. Now, this is a top tip from my mother-in-law.
Is it
my
true?
Mother-in-law, yes. Mm-hmm. And my daughter tried it. So if you get chewing gum, the thing that people chew all the time, you don't eat it. It's not a food. You just keep chewing it. I think it's called chicle, isn't it? In Spanish, chewing gum. You know how some disgusting people leave chewing gum under desks or on the ground or on the seats or on the bus seats or on the benches in the park, and you sit down, and then when you get up, you've got this chewing gum on your jeans or on your jacket, and it's really annoying. Well, the thing is, it's very difficult to get out of material. If you try to pull it off, you make it worse. If you try to rub it with hot water,
it's horrible.
You can't get it. If you put it in the washing machine, it doesn't come out. And the trick is not to do anything, but to put your jeans or your piece of clothing in a bag, and you stick it, even your shoe, if it's on your shoe, stick it immediately in the freezer. And you leave it in the freezer until the article of clothing obviously gets very cold. And then you pull it out, and then apparently it just chips off. So then you can get rid of it. And my daughter tried another technique, which was she got an ice cube. She had it on her jeans. And instead of putting her jeans in the freezer, she got an ice cube. And you just keep rubbing the ice cube. You have to do it for a few minutes, just rubbing the ice cube around the material and over the chewing gum. And that also has a similar effect. Eventually, it must obviously contract, and then it just lifts off, apparently.
I think that must be the most useful thing I've heard during this whole stream. That's a very good tip. I like. Not only are you learning English, you're learning life tips too.
But we don't recommend you try to re-chew the chewing gum. Don't do that. Put the chewing gum in the bin.
Or put your shoe on after it's been in the freezer either.
Yeah, no, exactly.
And the final old wives' tale is that bulls hate the color red.
Oh, I've heard that.
Yeah, it's quite a common saying in English that there's an expression. It's like a red rag to a bull. For example, my sister doesn't get on very well with her neighbor, and if I mention her neighbor's name, it's like a red rag to a bull. She gets very angry. She gets very aggressive. She loses her temper. So to show a red rag to a bull means that the bull will charge at you, will run at
Because
you.
a rag, maybe we should explain, a rag is a piece of material, like an old piece of material. Okay.
However, not true. Absolutely not
No?
true. Because bulls, like cows, are colorblind. They cannot see colors. So
Really?
it doesn't matter if the rag is purple or green or yellow. It doesn't matter what color it is. It's the movement that attracts the bull and not the
But all
color.
of the bullfighters in Spain, their little thing that they wave,
Cape.
the cape and the stick that they have, it's always red, isn't it? It's always red.
Yep.
Like the flag that they
I
wave
think
in
it
front of the
is.
bull, it's always
I'm
red.
sure we've got some Spanish people watching who can correct us if we're wrong. But yeah, I think it is red. But apparently they're not. They're colorblind, and so are cows, which I did not know.
Oh.
So that is not true either.
And how do you know? How do you know if a bull or a cow is colorblind? I mean, they can't talk, can they?
Well, you
So
test
how do
it.
you know? How do you test that?
You test it. You say, is that yellow? And if the bull says no, then it's not yellow. Of course, if it's an English bull, if it doesn't speak English, it's not going to understand you. If you're in Spain, you've got to say it in Spanish. God.
So you'd say, put your hoof up. One hoof if it's red, and two hoofs if it's yellow.
That's an old bull's tail. Anyway.
Gina's got an
one.
interesting one.
Telling the
Gina.
sex of a baby during pregnancy by sitting on a spoon or something. Is that? I've never heard. Have you heard of that?
No, but I know that there are tales about pregnancy. That I think I heard one that if your tummy, your bump, your pregnancy bump, if it's quite high, I can't remember whether it was a boy or a girl. Like they said there were differences in the shape of the bumps, whether it was a boy or a girl. But but sitting on a spoon, that sounds dangerous.
It does, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, well, it's interesting. Okay. Camino says that, yeah, we're right. It's the movement of the rag, not the color. So, yeah, confirmed.
All right.
Yep.
I still don't know how bulls know that we know that, though. I want to know how we know that the bulls are colorblind.
Well, they test them. Anyway, I think that's all we've got. Unless you're coming in to tell us one, we're going to leave it there. It's we're nearly out of time. So thank you for watching. Do you want to finish with anything, Lynne? Any final words?
To think of it. Final words. Well, I was thinking that some of these tales, I thought about this earlier. I think sometimes we kind of want to believe in them. It's a bit like horoscopes. When you have horoscopes and you read the horoscope and you say, no, I don't believe in horoscopes because it's not scientific. But when you read it, you pick out the things that you like and you go, oh, it's quite right. It's quite... That one's quite dead on. That's just like my personality, And I think sometimes old wives' tales are a little bit like that. They're passed on, but it's that because we sort of I don't know.
It's called confirmation bias, isn't it?
Is it
confirmation bias? So you you think you want something to be true, so you look for clues to make it true.
Yeah.
And
certainly, like it's strange that I remember some of the tales that my mother or my grandmother said, even though I don't do them. But I think it's because I'm sort of emotionally attached to them because it was my mother or my grandmother, who said those things.
Part
and
of
so
who
you kind of pass them on, don't you? So they're kind of superstitions as well, a little bit.
Kemmer agrees, exactly. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay. Nice. Well, thank you very much for being with us and watching us live. If you're watching the replay, we hope you've enjoyed this this stream, and we'll be back again. Well, I'll be back with Lynne in 2 weeks. And of course, next Wednesday at the same time, I'll be here with Monica for another live stream. So until next time, thanks for watching. I'm Craig from mansioningles.com, where you can learn English for free. And if you prefer listening to podcasts to improve your English, go to inglespodcast.com, or you'll find our podcast wherever you listen to your podcasts. Lynne?
Yeah, and I'm Lynne from putitlikethis.com, and I'm an online language teacher, and I make tailor-made courses for people who want online classes. So if you have a particular objective in English, could be an exam, a presentation, travel, maybe you write in English. If you have a specific objective, then I put together a course to try to help you find your own voice in English, to try to give you the English that you need, basically. So that's the focus of putitlikethis.com. All right. So thanks for sharing. And don't sit on any spoons. If you get a shock, have a sherry and enjoy.
Whatever you decide to do, just have a little bit of alcohol with it and it'll seem a whole lot better. Or a cookie, or eat a cookie.
Or a cookie. Yeah, a cookie would be nice. Okay, then. All right. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye. Bye.
Bye-bye. Thanks for watching.